The Cloud Painter, Part 1, The Curious Dreamer. Mira loved clouds. She always had. On lazy afternoons, while other kids played in the fields or worked with their families, Mira could be found lying on her back in the meadow, staring at the sky. She would watch the clouds drift by, imagining their shapes turning into animals, ships, or great mountains. Her favorite game was to sketch what she saw in her notebook. Her pages were filled with fluffy shapes, some realistic, others wild with imagination. But there was one thing Mira couldn't explain. Sometimes, just sometimes, the clouds looked too perfect. On certain days, a cloud would float by that didn't seem natural. It would shimmer faintly, its edges sharp and clean, like someone had painted it with a brush. Mira never told anyone about this. Who would believe her? But the sight of those special clouds always filled her with wonder. One sunny afternoon, Mira was in her usual spot in the meadow, her sketchbook balanced on her knees. She was drawing a cloud that looked like a bird in flight when something caught her eye. In the far distance, a cloud glowed brighter than the rest. It shimmered, almost like sunlight reflecting on water, and its edges weren't soft like the others. Mira froze, staring. She had seen clouds like this before, but never one so vivid. "What are you?" she whispered to herself, shading the edges of her sketch. As she worked, the shimmering cloud began to move toward her. Mira dropped her pencil, her breath catching in her throat. The cloud floated closer until it was directly overhead. Then, to her astonishment, a beam of light shot down from the cloud and landed a few feet away in the grass. The light was soft and warm, not blinding, and it shimmered like tiny particles of gold. Before Mira could even think, the beam of light shifted, forming a staircase. Each step glowed faintly, leading up into the sky. Mira's heart raced. She should have been scared, but she wasn't. The staircase seemed to call to her, as if it had been waiting just for her. "Come," a voice whispered on the breeze. It wasn't loud or frightening, just calm and gentle, like an old friend. Mira glanced back at the village in the distance. If anyone saw what was happening, they would think she was imagining things, but she couldn't look away from the staircase. Her curiosity burned stronger than her fear. Without another thought, Mira climbed to her feet, leaving her notebook behind. She stepped onto the glowing stairs. The first step felt solid beneath her feet, though it shimmered like mist. She took another step, then another, climbing higher and higher. The meadow below shrank until it was a tiny patch of green, and the village disappeared into the horizon. Mira kept climbing, her heart pounding with excitement. Finally, she reached the top of the staircase. She stepped into a place unlike anything she had ever seen. Part 2, The Workshop Above the World. Mira stood in awe, her eyes wide as she took in the world around her. She was in a workshop, though not like any workshop she'd ever seen. The floor beneath her feet was made of soft, silvery mist, cool to the touch, yet sturdy enough to walk on. Shelves lined the space, filled with jars of swirling colors, soft blues, golden yellows, deep grays. Each jar seemed to glow faintly, as though the colors inside were alive. In the center of the workshop stood a tall easel holding a canvas made of shimmering air. A figure stood before it, painting with a brush that sparkled like starlight. With every stroke of the brush, a cloud appeared on the canvas, swirling and shifting as though it had a life of its own. As Mira watched, the painter lifted their hand, and the cloud drifted off the canvas and into the sky beyond the workshop. The figure turned, noticing Mira for the first time. They were tall and graceful, with kind eyes that seemed to twinkle like distant stars. Their long coat shimmered with colors that shifted like the sky at sunset. "Ah, a visitor," the figure said, setting down their brush. Their voice was warm, with a hint of amusement. "It's been a long time since we've had someone new." Mira hesitated, her heart racing. Who are you?" she asked. The figure smiled. "I am the master painter," they said, spreading their arms, "and this is the workshop above the world." Mira's mind spun clouds. "Indeed," the master painter said with a small bow. "Every cloud you see in the sky is created here. We shape them, color them, and send them into the world below. Clouds are not just shapes, you see. They carry meaning. They bring emotion to the people who look up at them. Mira's curiosity burned brighter. She looked around at the jars of color, the brushes, the swirling clouds drifting out of the workshop. "You make all the clouds?" she asked. "Even the strange ones? The ones that look like they've been painted?" The master painter chuckled. "Yes, even those. Each cloud tells a story, carries a feeling. Some bring joy, others bring peace. And yes, even storms have their purpose." Mira took a step forward, her eyes sparkling with wonder. Can I learn to do this?" The master painter studied her for a moment, their gaze thoughtful. "It's not an easy task," they said. "Painting the sky takes more than skill. It requires balance, care, and an understanding of both light and shadow." But they smiled. "You have the spark of a dreamer. Let's see what you can do." They handed Mira a small brush, its bristles soft and glowing faintly. "Start with something simple," they said, guiding her to a blank canvas. "Choose a color from the jars and paint a single cloud." Mira's hands trembled as she reached for a jar of soft white swirling with hints of gold. She dipped the brush into the color and hesitated, then carefully painted a small fluffy cloud on the canvas. To her amazement, the cloud shimmered and floated off the canvas, joining the sky beyond the workshop. "I did it!" Mira gasped, her face lighting up with joy. The master painter nodded, their smile kind. "Very good, but clouds are more than shapes. Try adding feeling. What emotion would you like your cloud to carry?" Mira thought for a moment, then reached for a jar of soft pink. She added gentle strokes to her cloud, and as she worked, the cloud began to glow faintly. A wave of calm washed over her, as though the cloud carried peace itself. The master painter nodded approvingly. "Excellent. That cloud will bring comfort to someone below." Mira's heart swelled with pride. She had created something beautiful, something meaningful. She spent the next several hours painting more clouds, soft gold for hope, pale blue for wonder, gentle gray for quiet reflection. Each cloud carried a feeling, a small gift to the world below. But as Mira worked, she couldn't help noticing the jars of darker colors, deep grays and stormy blacks. They sat untouched on the shelves, their swirling contents faintly glowing. She wondered what those colors could create. "What about those?" she asked, pointing to the jars. The master painter's smile faded slightly. "Storm clouds," they said. "They are powerful, but they must be handled with care. Balance is the key." Mira nodded, her curiosity growing stronger. She couldn't wait to try. Part 3. The Trouble with Storms. The jars of stormy colors seemed to call to Mira. Their deep hues, grays, purples, blacks, swirled like restless seas, and their faint glow flickered as though alive. They were unlike the bright, cheerful colors she'd been working with all day. "Storm clouds bring chaos," the master painter said, noticing her gaze. "But they are not always bad. Storms can clear the air, water the earth, and bring new beginnings. Yet if mishandled, they can cause destruction. Balance is essential." Mira's fingers tightened on her brush. She wanted to try. After all, she had painted soft, fluffy clouds with ease. Surely she could handle a storm. "May I?" she asked, glancing at the master painter. They hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "If you feel ready, you may. But remember, storms are tricky. They are not meant to harm, but to heal. Keep that in mind." Mira stepped up to the canvas, her heart pounding with excitement. She chose a jar of dark gray, the color of heavy rain clouds, and dipped her brush into its swirling depths. The color clung to the bristles like liquid shadow. Carefully, she painted a thick, dark streak across the canvas. The cloud began to form, heavy and dense, with edges that crackled faintly like distant lightning. Mira's hands shook as she added more strokes, blending the gray with hints of deep purple. She wanted the cloud to look powerful but beautiful, a storm that would sweep across the sky with purpose. But something felt off. As the storm cloud grew, it seemed to pulse with energy, its edges sharp and jagged. The canvas trembled faintly, and Mira noticed the air around her growing colder. Mira, the master painter said sharply, stepping forward. I can fix it, Mira stammered, gripping her brush tighter. She added more strokes, trying to smooth the cloud's edges, but the storm resisted. It swirled violently, growing larger and darker. A faint rumble of thunder echoed through the workshop. Mira, step back, the master painter ordered. Before she could move, the storm cloud tore free from the canvas. It floated into the sky beyond the workshop, expanding rapidly. Lightning flashed within its depths, and the rumble of thunder grew louder. Oh no, Mira whispered, her heart sinking. She had lost control. The storm cloud swept across the sky, casting the world below into shadow. Mira ran to the edge of the workshop, staring in horror as the once bright sky turned dark and gray. The storm grew larger, stretching across the horizon. Rain began to fall, heavy and relentless, and the winds howled like restless spirits. What have I done? Mira whispered, her voice trembling. The master painter placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Storms are not inherently bad, they said, but this one is out of balance. It carries too much anger, too much fear. We must calm it before it causes harm. Mira felt a lump rise in her throat. How? I don't know how to stop it. You must face it, the master painter said simply. It is your creation, Mira. Only you can bring it back into balance. Mira stared at the storm cloud, the lightning flashing within its depths. The thought of confronting it terrified her, but she knew the master painter was right. She couldn't leave the storm to rage unchecked. With trembling hands, she picked up her brush and turned back to the canvas. What do I do? The master painter handed her a jar of soft silver, its glow calm and steady. Add light to the darkness, they said. Balance the storm with hope. Mira dipped her brush into the silver paint, its glow steadying her nerves. She painted a single stroke across the canvas, adding a faint shimmer to the edges of the storm. The cloud in the sky responded, its jagged edges softening slightly. Encouraged, Mira added more strokes, blending the silver with the gray and purple. The storm began to change, its lightning dimming and its thunder quieting. The rain softened into a gentle drizzle, and the winds grew calmer. Mira took a deep breath, focusing on her work. With each stroke, the storm grew more balanced, its chaotic energy transforming into something purposeful. The rain nourished the earth below, and the winds cleared away the haze, revealing a brighter sky. Finally, the storm cloud shrank, its edges glowing faintly with silver light. It drifted peacefully across the horizon, its power contained. Mira set down her brush, her hands trembling. Did I do it? The master painter smiled, their eyes filled with pride. Yes, you brought balance to the storm. That is the true art of cloud painting, not just creating beauty, but finding harmony in chaos. Part 4, Finding Balance. Over the next several days, Mira threw herself into her work. Each morning she woke early, eager to practice blending colors, shaping clouds, and learning the delicate art of balance. The jars of color became her closest companions. She grew to recognize each one not just by its shade, but by the emotions it carried. Soft gold was hope, bright yet steady. Pale blue brought wonder, a lightness that could make anyone feel like they were soaring. Even muted grays had their charm, gentle and grounding, like the feeling of a quiet rain. But Mira knew the true challenge lay in the darker colors. She avoided them at first, still haunted by the memory of her storm. She focused instead on perfecting her lighter clouds, creating skies that carried peace and joy to the world below. One morning, the master painter approached her while she worked. They studied her canvas, which held a blend of pink and orange clouds glowing faintly like the first light of dawn. You've done well, they said, their voice thoughtful. Your clouds are beautiful and they carry great warmth, but there is more to the sky than sunlight and calm. Mira glanced at the darker jars on the shelves. You mean the storms? The master painter nodded. Storms are part of the world, just as much as sunlight. They bring change, clear the air, and make space for new beginnings. But they require balance, Mira. Without it, they can overwhelm. Mira hesitated, her brush trembling in her hand. She thought of the storm she had unleashed, its wild energy threatening to spiral out of control. The memory made her chest tighten. "I'm not ready," she admitted. The master painter placed a hand on her shoulder. "The storms are already part of the world, Mira. Whether or not you paint them, they will come. But as a cloud painter, you have the power to guide them, to ensure they bring growth instead of harm. That is our role." Mira stared at her canvas, her thoughts churning. She knew they were right. The world wasn't just sunlight and calm. It was complex, full of light and shadow, joy and sorrow. If she wanted to be a true cloud painter, she couldn't ignore the storms forever. That afternoon, Mira stood before the darker jars, her brush poised in her hand. The master painter watched silently, their calm presence giving her strength. Mira reached for a jar of deep blue, the color of a summer sky just before a storm. She dipped her brush into the color and carefully painted a streak across her canvas. The cloud began to form, heavy and full, its edges dark but smooth. Mira added hints of silver, blending them with the blue to soften the cloud's weight. As she worked, she felt a strange calm settle over her. The storm cloud didn't frighten her this time. It felt powerful, yes, but not wild. It carried purpose, like the steady rhythm of rain on dry earth. When she finished, the cloud drifted into the sky beyond the workshop. Mira watched as it grew, its dark edges glowing faintly with silver light. The rain it carried was soft and steady, soaking the earth below. For the first time, Mira understood what the master painter had meant. The storm wasn't destructive, it was cleansing, a gentle reset for the world. "You've done it," the master painter said, their voice filled with pride. "You've brought balance to the storm." Mira smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. She had faced her fear and found the harmony within the storm. It wasn't perfect, it never would be, but it was enough. Part 5: The Sky of Dreams. As Mira continued to practice, her confidence grew. She painted more complex skies, blending light and shadow in ways that carried deep meaning. Her golden clouds brought joy to the world below, while her soft grays and blues inspired reflection. Even her storms became something beautiful, their rains nourishing the earth and clearing the way for sunlight. One evening, as Mira worked on a twilight sky filled with streaks of pink and orange, the master painter approached her with a thoughtful expression. "There is something I haven't told you," they said. "Every cloud painter has their own way of shaping the sky. You've found your balance, but you've yet to discover your unique gift." Mira frowned. "My gift?" The master painter nodded. "Each painter brings something special to the sky, something only they can create. It's not something I can teach you. You must find it for yourself." Mira stared at her canvas, her mind racing. What could she bring to the sky that was different from anyone else? She had learned so much from the master painter, but they had already created everything she could think of. Sunlit clouds, calming rains, even storms. That night, Mira stood at the edge of the workshop, looking out at the stars. The world below was quiet, its lights twinkling faintly in the distance. As she stared at the sky, an idea began to form in her mind. "What if," she whispered, her heart pounding, "what if I could paint the night?" The next morning, Mira approached the master painter, her excitement bubbling over. "I want to try something new," she said. The master painter raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go on." "I want to paint the night sky," Mira said. "Not just clouds, but stars, something that shines in the darkness." The master painter smiled, their eyes twinkling. "A bold idea, show me." Mira gathered her supplies, choosing jars of deep blue, shimmering silver, and soft gold. She started with a dark canvas, blending shades of navy and black to create a rich, endless sky. Then, with the smallest brush she could find, she began adding tiny dots of silver and gold, each one glowing softly like a distant star. As she worked, Mira lost herself in the process. The stars seemed to dance across the canvas, creating constellations and patterns she had never imagined. When she finished, she stepped back, her chest swelling with pride. The master painter stared at her creation, their expression one of awe. "You found your gift, Mira," they said softly. "You've brought light to the darkness." Mira smiled, her heart full. For the first time, she felt like a true cloud painter, not just shaping the sky, but adding something uniquely her own. The night sky she had created drifted into the heavens, its stars shining brightly for all to see. Part 6, A Sky to Remember. Mira's stars lit up the night, spreading across the sky like tiny lanterns. She watched them with pride, imagining the people below looking up and feeling the warmth of their glow. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever created, and the master painter agreed. "Your stars bring something new to the world," they said, standing beside her at the edge of the workshop. "You've shown me that even the darkness can shine." Mira smiled, but her heart was still restless. She loved painting the sky, loved shaping the world below, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to learn, more to explore. What lay beyond the stars? Were there other painters, other workshops like this one? That night, as she lay on her soft cloud bed in a quiet corner of the workshop, a thought came to her. What if the sky wasn't the limit? What if there was more beyond this magical place? The next morning, Mira woke to the sound of a soft whisper. She sat up, blinking in the golden light of the workshop. The whisper wasn't loud, but it was clear, carrying her name on the breeze. "Mira!" She followed the sound to the edge of the workshop, where a gentle wind was blowing. As she leaned closer, a small wisp of cloud drifted toward her, glowing faintly. It floated into her hands, and Mira gasped. The wisp carried a message. "Beyond the horizon lies a secret," the message read. "Find it, and the sky will never be the same." Mira's heart raced. Who had sent the message? What kind of secret could change the sky itself? She turned to the master painter, holding the glowing wisp in her hands. "Do you know where this came from?" she asked. The master painter studied the wisp, their face unreadable. "It's a call to adventure," they said at last. "Cloud painters receive them rarely, but when they do, it means something important lies ahead. If you follow it, you may find answers or new questions." Mira hesitated. She loved the workshop, loved painting the sky, but the pull of the unknown was stronger than ever. "I want to go," she said firmly. "I want to find the secret." The master painter nodded. "Then you must follow the horizon, but be careful, Mira. The journey will not be easy." The next morning, Mira prepared to leave the workshop. She packed a small satchel with her favorite brushes and jars of color, gold for hope, silver for light, and a soft gray for calm. The master painter handed her a glowing compass. "This will guide you," they said. "It points to the place where the skies meet. Follow it and trust your instincts." Mira thanked them, feeling a lump rise in her throat. She didn't want to say goodbye, but she knew this was something she had to do. With the compass in her hand and determination in her heart, Mira stepped off the edge of the workshop and onto a path made of glowing clouds. The horizon stretched before her, endless and full of possibilities. Mira's journey wasn't easy. The path of clouds twisted and turned, sometimes disappearing entirely, leaving her to find her own way. She passed through skies filled with golden light and skies heavy with storms. She painted where she could, adding calm to turbulent winds and warmth to the cold night. One day, the path led her to a dark valley. The clouds here were heavy and gray, blocking out the sun. The air was thick, and Mira's steps felt slower, as if the weight of the valley was pressing down on her. As she walked, she heard a faint sound, soft whispers like the ones that had called her before. But these whispers were different. They weren't gentle or inviting. They were cold, filled with doubt and fear. "You're not ready," the whisper said. "You'll never find the secret. Turn back before it's too late." Mira stopped, her heart pounding. The whispers felt so real, so convincing. For a moment she wanted to turn back, to return to the safety of the workshop. But then she remembered the stars she had painted, the way they had lit up the darkness. She remembered the storm she had tamed, the balance she had found. Taking a deep breath, she reached into her satchel and pulled out her jar of silver light. "This valley doesn't scare me," she said aloud, dipping her brush into the silver glow. She painted a streak across the heavy gray clouds, and the light spread, pushing back the shadows. The valley began to brighten, the whispers fading into silence. Mira smiled, her confidence growing. She wasn't afraid of the dark, not anymore. After many days of traveling, the glowing compass began to hum softly in Mira's hand. The needle spun faster, pointing straight ahead. Mira climbed higher, the path of clouds narrowing until it was little more than a thread in the sky. At last, she reached the top of a towering cloud peak. In the distance, she saw it, the horizon where the sky met the stars. It shimmered with colors she had never seen before, swirling like a living painting. As Mira approached, she saw a figure waiting for her. It was another painter, their coat shining like the first light of dawn. They smiled, their face kind and familiar. "You've come far, Mira," the painter said, "and you've found your own light along the way." "Who are you?" Mira asked, though she felt like she already knew. "I am the keeper of the horizon," they said, "and I have been waiting for someone like you, a painter who can balance light and shadow, joy and sorrow. The secret of the sky lies within you, Mira. You have the power to shape not just clouds, but the stars themselves." Mira's breath caught. "Me, but I'm just learning." The keeper smiled. "And yet you've already changed the sky. The stars you've painted, the storms you've tamed, they are proof of your gift. Now it is time to take the next step." The keeper held out their hand, and Mira felt a surge of warmth. She reached out, her heart full of excitement and wonder. The sky had more secrets to reveal, and Mira was ready to uncover them all. Part 7, The Sky Beyond the Horizon. Mira stood at the edge of the horizon, the swirling colors around her like an ocean of light and shadow. The keeper of the horizon gestured toward the swirling expanse. "This is the boundary between what is known and what is possible," the keeper said. "Cloud painters often stay within the skies they've shaped, but beyond this point lies the infinite sky, a place where no rules exist." Mira's breath hitched as she gazed at the horizon. The colors seemed alive, constantly shifting and flowing, like a living painting that never stopped changing. "Do I paint here too?" she asked, gripping her brush tightly. The keeper smiled. "Beyond the horizon, you don't just paint the clouds, you create the entire canvas." Mira blinked, unsure of what they meant. "The entire canvas?" "Yes," the keeper said, stepping closer. "The world you see below, the stars above, the winds that carry the clouds, all of it is part of the infinite sky. It is more than creation, it is connection. Every brushstroke you make here will echo through the skies you've already shaped." Mira's heart raced. The idea thrilled her, but it also scared her. What if she made a mistake? What if she wasn't ready for such a responsibility? "I don't know if I can do that," she admitted. The keeper knelt beside her, their voice calm and steady. "You have already proven yourself, Mira. You have faced storms and shadows. You have found light in the darkness. This is the next step on your journey. Trust yourself, as I trust you." The keeper handed Mira a small palette, filled with colors she had never seen before. One swirled with gold and crimson, glowing like the first rays of dawn. Another shimmered with blue and green, soft and peaceful like a quiet lake. Yet another pulsed faintly, dark and deep, like the night sky itself. "These colors hold the essence of creation," the keeper said. "They are tied to the heart, to the emotions that shape the world. Use them wisely." Mira stepped closer to the horizon, her brush trembling in her hand. She dipped it into the gold and crimson hue and carefully painted a streak across the sky. The color shimmered, spreading outward like a sunrise, casting a warm glow over the horizon. Encouraged, Mira added strokes of blue and green, blending them into the golden light. The colors swirled together, forming something entirely new, a sky filled with light and peace, yet still carrying the quiet depth of shadow. The keeper nodded approvingly. "You are painting not just for the sky, but for the hearts of those below. Each color you use will reach someone, bringing them what they need most." Mira's chest swelled with pride. She added more strokes, letting her instincts guide her. The sky she painted was unlike anything she had created before, vast, boundless, and alive. As Mira worked, she noticed a dark shape forming at the edge of her canvas. It was small at first, but it grew rapidly, its edges jagged and crackling with energy. "A storm," Mira said, her voice tense. The keeper's expression didn't change. It is part of the balance. Even beyond the horizon, storms have their place. Mira frowned, her brush hovering over the palette. But what if it's too strong? What if it destroys everything? The keeper placed a hand on her shoulder. That is the painter's challenge, to guide the storm, not stop it. You must trust yourself, Mira. You have done this before. Mira nodded, though her heart still pounded with doubt. She dipped her brush into the faintly glowing silver and began adding soft streaks to the storm. As she painted, the jagged edges smoothed, and the storm began to shift. The lightning within it became less chaotic, more purposeful, and the winds it carried spread across the horizon with steady strength. The storm settled, blending into the colors of her canvas. Instead of destruction, it brought renewal, clearing away the old and making space for the new. Mira stepped back, her hands shaking. "I did it," she whispered, hardly believing it. The keeper smiled. "You are no longer just a cloud painter, Mira. You are a creator of skies." Part 8, The Sky's Echo. As Mira continued to paint, the horizon itself began to change. The swirling colors deepened, and faint shapes appeared within them. Stars, clouds, and distant landscapes. The more she painted, the more the horizon seemed to come alive, reflecting her emotions and dreams. But one day, as Mira worked, she noticed something strange. The sky she had painted began to shimmer, its colors rippling like water. A faint hum filled the air, growing louder with each moment. "What's happening?" Mira asked, turning to the keeper. The keeper's expression grew serious. "The sky is echoing. It is responding to something, someone." Mira stared at the horizon, her heart racing. She dipped her brush into the silver paint and added a small streak, trying to steady the rippling colors. The hum quieted, but the sky continued to shimmer. "What does it mean?" Mira asked. The keeper looked at her, their eyes filled with both pride and a hint of sadness. "It means your work is calling you home." "Home?" Mira repeated, confused. "You have brought balance to the skies, but your journey is not over," the keeper said. "The people below need you, Mira. The sky's echo is calling you back to them." Mira's chest tightened. She loved the horizon, loved the endless possibilities it offered, but the thought of returning home filled her with a quiet warmth. "Will I still be able to paint?" she asked. The keeper nodded. "The skies will always be part of you. Wherever you go, you carry their light and shadow within your heart." With a heavy heart but a steady resolve, Mira packed her brushes and palette. The keeper handed her the glowing compass, its needle now pointing downward. "Your journey home will not be the end, Mira," the keeper said. "It will be the beginning of something new." Mira smiled, her chest swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for everything." She stepped off the edge of the horizon, the compass guiding her downward. The glowing path of clouds appeared beneath her feet, leading her back toward the world she had once left behind. As Mira descended, the skies she had painted stretched out above her, golden clouds, shimmering stars, and storms filled with purpose. She knew that her work had made a difference, and that the skies would always carry a piece of her heart. When Mira reached the ground, the familiar meadow greeted her, bathed in the soft light of a golden sunset. She looked up at the sky, and smiled. The clouds drifted peacefully, the stars beginning to twinkle in the growing dusk. Mira picked up her old notebook, left behind in the grass, and opened it to a blank page. "Let's begin again," she whispered, her heart full of hope. And so Mira's journey as a cloud painter continued, not just in the skies above, but in the hearts of the people below.